First goal was to do Eisenhower.
There, I know.
The forecast was 50 miles an hour and minus 23. We said, no, not a good idea.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the March 7th, 2023 meeting of the Litchfield Planning Board. Would you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I'll start with the roll call of members. Michael Proto, Chair.
Kate Stevens, Vice Chair.
Ron Stevens, member.
Kimberly Queenan, Selectmen's Rep.
Sam Terrell, member.
Okay, and James is actually on vacation. He will not be here. First item is public input on non-agenda items, items not on the agenda for this evening. Is there anybody from the public that has anything for comment on non-agenda items this evening? Okay, seeing none, I'll close public input on non-agenda items, and we'll go to the first order of business this evening, which is a site plan proposed by Thoreau Development LLC at 522 Charles Bancroft Highway, tax map 22, lot 11. The proposal in the northern commercial zone is to include a 5,500 square foot gas convenience store, including a drive-through lane set behind fuel dispensers in front and on the south side of the site. The back westerly of the 15.3 acre lot will include 9 self-storage units totaling 22,900 square feet. The application was accepted on 11/4/2022. Is the applicant present this evening? Would you guys would you come forward and introduce yourself to the board?
You bet, Mr. Chairman.
Good evening.
For the record, my name is Jim Petropoulos. I'm a professional engineer doing business at Hayner Swanson, 3 Congress Street, Nashua, New Hampshire. Tonight representing Thoreau Development. I brought the softball team with me tonight, as you can see behind us. The team is here, headed up by Renee and Sylvain Thoreau, local businessmen who've owned this property and have been trying to develop it for a number of years, and we think we're getting close. What I thought I'd do, with your permission, Mr. Chairman, is just give kind of a quick overview. I want to touch upon things that may have changed over the course of the past month or so. I'll call your attention to that. I think that after I speak, I'm going to ask Jonathan Hawley of Warren Street Architects to come up, and he's going to run us through the perspectives and kind of highlight some of the changes that have made to kind of the aesthetics of the project. As you know, Mr. Chairman, we have an application before you for a site plan approval. We also have 2 conditional use permit applications, and I don't want to lose sight of that fact as well. And again, this is our 3rd meeting. Back in December, we presented the project in its entirety. The application was accepted. We reviewed project history. We really focused on key elements that evening of the project, the layout of the project, stormwater. I thought we did an in-depth traffic review. Bob Bollinger from GPI is here tonight. But Bob gave a presentation of traffic, including the off-site improvements. And I want to remind the board that those off-site improvements are still part of our application package. And if the project were to move forward, the left turn lane into the site, as well as the sidewalk improvements, will be built as part of the project. We then met in February. Really, the focus was on the aesthetics of the project. The board had asked us to come back and specifically discuss architecture, lighting, landscaping in the buildings. And if you recall that evening, we reviewed the gas convenience store and the architecture involved with that. And, we talked at length about the canopies and a brief review of some of the self-storage characteristics in the back part of the projects. The comments we received that evening, if my notes were accurate, reflect overall lighting levels, landscaping on the perspective drawings, softer canopies, I think was a theme, and then a little bit more intel, a little bit more notes regarding the self-storage units in the back. So in response to the February meeting, we have revised our plan set. The plan set revision is 3/1/23, which Jay is called up in front of us. And you can see overall it's essentially the same plan. But I'll walk you through some of the subtle differences. To sheet 5 of 24, we have added notes relative to self-storage. Hours of operation, 5 a.m. to 10 p.m., and that's really just to be consistent with the hours of the gas convenience store in the front. We have notations that there shall be no outdoor storage of RVs, boats, or vehicles in that back area. We have notations that the building shall be identified with signage, and that's good for life safety as well as just knowing. We added a note that the leases shall contain that the tenants do not store hazardous, flammable, or explosive materials, and that fire extinguishers be set on opposite ends of each building. And those notes, I think, Mr. Chairman, are consistent with a recently permitted and constructed similar type use in town. In addition to the plans, some minor drainage edits to satisfy your peer review consultant, Lou Karen, professional engineer. Lou has always been good to work with, fair in his comments. We had a little bit of back and forth on some drainage elements and some spot elevations, and we were able to satisfy Lou to the point where he provided a no further comment letter. I call it a happy letter, but we think to be safe, it's a no further comment letter. And while I'm talking about drainage, really here in the state of New Hampshire, stormwater, as a designer, runs through a very arduous process. The New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services Alteration of Terrain Program takes a close look at stormwater qualitative and quantitative treatment practices, as well as and erosion control practices. And we were fortunate to receive our alteration of terrain permit for this project. One item that did come out of that, I will call your attention to this, Mr. Chairman, is that here in New Hampshire, as you're going through that process, the New Hampshire Fish and Game actually has the ability to weigh in on alteration of terrain permits. And one of their comments was that this project as conceived does have some remaining open space areas. You can see the large buffer between the self-storage and the conservation land to the north, as well as along Leech Brook, and as well as the westerly part of the property. We committed to the alteration of terrain process that post-approval, the owners will put a conservation easement on record, thereby essentially rendering that property in open space in perpetuity. Attorney Hollis will work out the final language of that, but he did draft a document that was sent to Fish and Game, and it was found to be acceptable. We know most of that land is wet, but some of it isn't, and it just validates some of the buffering that we'll be doing around the development. Some items you'll hear about tonight that I'd like to present, as well as Jonathan Hawley, who's going to speak tonight, I wanted to clarify the questions that came up at the last meeting. In talking to Renee and Sylvain, they do intend to have both a coin-operated air pump and vacuum as part of the gas part. And Jay, if you scroll down to maybe sheet 5, possibly. I'll just approach the screen. Yeah, that's perfect. And those two would be located right here. You can see and I always have identified these two areas with a small little divider island in between them. So that question came up. Lower light levels. That was a comment that came up at the last meeting. Our lighting consultant was unable to be here tonight, but in advance of the hearing, he informed me that the location, next sheet, Jay, if you don't mind, the storage units will not have poles around the perimeter as originally conceived. They will have wall packs, and usually those wall packs are nothing more than a 75-watt bulb, downcast lighting. It won't be a pole. So reduced lighting in the storage area. Our consultant also informed us that in the gas C-store area, if you go back one, Jay, lighting levels, maximum levels will be reduced from 65-foot candles to 40. And in the diesel canopy, for the truck canopy, from 67 to 39. So pretty good reduction in foot candle levels in those two locations. Self-storage signage was a question that came up. I think we ended up with one of the panels in the pylon sign that will be for the self-storage. I think the graphics will show that when we get to it. And we've also finally included an elevation, a kind of a pictorial of the self-storage units in the back that we've been promising you. As well as the canopy changes, which I'm going to let Jonathan come up and talk about. Jonathan is our only other presenter tonight. We're all here to answer questions. And we'll let Jonathan come up and talk a little bit about it, and then we'll come back and I can summarize if you'd like. Great.
Okay. Just one thing though, Lou, do you have anything you want to add? I know that I saw your letter of February 27th. It sounds like you were pretty much satisfied
They
with
cleaned it up pretty good.
with the sheets. And from your February 6th letter, all of those issues were addressed? Is
Yes.
that my understanding? Okay. All right. Thank you.
Jake, can you pull up the link to the video? Do we do it?
I can, whenever you're ready. It goes quickly, so tell me when you're ready.
Well, it doesn't go that quick, but we'll run through it. You should be able to blow that up if you click on, yep. So this is going to give you a real representation of what the development is. We're turning left in now. You can see the pylon sign has been adjusted. As we get a little closer, maybe we can come back so you can see there's a reference at the bottom to the self-storage. The synergy came off the top of the pylon sign. We've reduced the canopies to both gas islands to just a white band. It has a small regolith on the top, but we cleaned that up altogether. The remainder of the pumps, and I call them the candy canes, that's all part of branding to the mobile station itself. That's the only thing left really to the branding element. We're gonna drive around the back here, but it gives you a good glimpse of what the convenience store, the country store will look like. We're gonna drive around the back. You'll see the drive up. There is a fenced trash container element here. The guardrail, the fencing to the detention pond in the back to the right. So you can see that the back is pretty much paved. The drive lane along the edge of the building to the drive-through. We're going to come around the other side, and I apologize. It takes 6 hours to render this, so we're going to crash through the stop sign. There was no changing that after it ran all night. But we did. I'll let New Hampshire Sign Peter talk about. There will be a sign here to the left that just announces that the storage is to the back. And we can go through the renderings that you'll see what those storage units look, and then we're going to drive back out through the diesel pump area. So it's a closer representation of actually what we're proposing. So if you want to show the PDFs, we can go through the individual slides, and if people have questions as we show them, you can surely jump in. But
You don't want me to exit?
oh, you can. I've viewed it 30 times, so I've. And now we're just going to drive down the road, so you can exit.
That house, Jonathan, across the street.
So again, back to the architecture. We're talking about grays and whites with a cultured stone at the base. It might be true stone, but it's all depending on pricing and budget, if you will. Asphalt shingle roof. elements that are all similar to the architecture here in New England. You know, very familiar image, if you will. Go on to the next one. Again, just, I believe that Renee and Sylvain have landed on Litchfield Country Store. Essentially, you know, the intent of what we're talking about here. Not overdone, but I think presents well. And you can just flip through these. So again, back to the pylon sign, the Synergy red under the mobile was eliminated. Everything was moved up. Sal's Pizza, Dunkin', and a reference to the self-storage in the back. So that is all code compliant signage for the project. The landscaping underneath it is representative of what's on the landscape plan. So it gives you some idea of what we're talking about.
Is that sign gonna change color? I think we talked about this, is it gonna be black at night or something?
It does do the reverse.
Reverse.
Yeah, and Peter can talk to that. I don't have those images here, but we did show them at the last meeting.
These plans still have the Synergy here on page 6.
This is a late minute change.
Okay.
Again, just more views of what we're talking about. I think the elimination of the blue stripe, if you will, on the canopy makes it a little less pronounced. It's just white, so it kind of blends to the skyline. We had a lot of conversation in-house about, you know, can we do something at the edge that looks like a shingle or something like that? And there's just too much liability with things that would fall off that edge. So we're holding with that we would like this to be a flat roofed canopy in both locations. Go on to the next one. Any questions at all?
Anybody?
I guess I mean, the building looks lovely, the color scheme and everything, but you have people walking under a canopy there.
Under a canopy where?
At the start of the building, there's the angled awning there, and isn't that a walkway underneath?
The archway at the
Yeah.
entry?
Can you walk behind that pillar?
Right here.
Right there, yeah.
Yes.
When you go in.
Yeah, that gable is proud by 6 feet, so you can walk in on the sides and through the front.
So I just don't understand why there can't be a small angle on the gas canopy that people walk under, but they can walk under that.
I'm lost in terms of what you're saying.
The
The
roof
design of
is
the roof, you were
angled.
talking
Bring it
about,
back.
you weren't gonna do a canopy on where the gas pumps are. What she's saying is that there's a canopy.
The sidewalk one's underneath the
Yeah.
awning.
Right. Why is it okay to walk under a slope roof
Right.
here
of the building.
and not on the canopy?
Don't have an answer to that.
And I know that, I mean, there are gas stations that are built with sloped canopies.
Very few today, very few. And all of them that are being replaced, the liability of things falling off on the car, something, ice falls off, you know, hits somebody on the head. That's where we are.
Would you even consider very small, like, so it's not a peaked roof, but just a small awning off of the edge? I think I sent a photo to, did I send a photo to you, John?
Not to me.
About,
A while back, yeah.
it was a while back.
Month ago.
And I was trying to describe it at the last meeting, where just even just a 3-foot space of shingle to create like so you take a cross section and it's a trapezoid instead of a full peak. I just think that it would go better. It would be more cohesive with the character of the town. And same with the colors of the pumps. I think we had, last meeting, we had talked about, or we had mentioned that trying to keep the color scheme of the building would be more preferable.
Yeah, so the trim on the building is white. The canopy would be white. We actually drew a bunch of different options with anything more than the white band, and respectfully, my opinion is that the canopy feels much heavier in just in view, just aesthetically. That's a whole conversation beyond the liability aspect of it. And my conversations with the Thoreaus were, at this point, with where they are with mobile, they wanted to move forward with a flat roof. And they thought that this was a good compromise to your comments from the last two meetings. So that's where we are.
Okay. I mean, our regulations just say that flat roofs are highly discouraged. I don't think they say that they're not allowed. And they also discourage franchise and corporate style architecture. So I was just hoping we'd see a little more cohesiveness with the building and the pumps, the coloring pumps of the pumps, and even the diesel pumps are less, they stand out less than the big candy cane on those pumps, on the standard gas pumps that you have here.
No, I understand. It's all part of their directional, they tried to explain that to you last time. They have a whole directional program and,
But without being willing to publish the data, to me, it feels like they are using that as a reason to encourage planning boards not to push back on the pump design. So I don't think that the pump design goes well with the building. I think the building looks fantastic, but the pumps and the canopy, I'm not thrilled about.
Okay, do you mind if we go
Yeah,
through to the back?
we can come back
Yes.
to that.
Yeah,
So why don't
thank you, yeah. The only last piece I think of this, Jay, we're gonna
There
end
is
up
a
in the back
rendering.
by the storage buildings, Jonathan, yeah. Thanks.
so the storage room units out back are essentially a pre-engineered metal building. Same color scheme, white doors, gray panels to match what the convenience store is out front. The site will be completely, it'll be paved around, providing access to the doors, and it will be fenced all the way around as well. And there is a gate, so beyond the times that it's open, it would be locked, and only those that have a pass can get in. But fairly straightforward, and there will be some signage on the building in terms of very small numbers that locate each locker, if you will. And it might be building A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like that. But nothing outlandish, just a small, it might be just a number on the door. I think that was the last rendering that you asked for. Yep.
So that's really the only issue you have, Kate, is the,
I think it's a good location, for storage facilities. I think it's a good location for a gas station. I think it will benefit the town as a whole, bringing some business in that, people will definitely use. I'm disappointed in the fact that it's going against the site plan regulations that are discouraging things like that have strong contrasting franchise colors and design.
well, I guess the question is, do the site, the site plan regulations, if that's, if it's discouraging that type of design, can the board look to make that as part of to abide by the regulation. But then there's the question, I'm just trying to balance it. There's the corporate piece to this, which is Mobile has their own standards for how they build things. And then, of course, there's the liability piece, and that's a separate, that's the whole separate issue as well. So, is there a way to balance all of that? Or is that something that you guys are gonna stand firm on, and unless you wanna figure out a way to try to, I don't know, change it, or?
Well, I mean, the regulations say that they're strongly discouraged, so I don't know. That would be a question for legal, about whether or not it's something that we could reject a plan based on.
So you've got.
Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, could you read that section to me, please?
Sure,
Yeah.
it's,
Thank
Certainly.
section 120.11, compatibility, page 34. It starts on page 33, but the start of page 34 says franchise or corporate style architecture and/or highly contrasting color schemes are strongly discouraged. And I can find the roof. And then page 37, section 120.13.6, roof forms and materials, flat roofs are discouraged. It says roof lines shall not run in continuous planes of more than 50 feet, and flat roofs are discouraged.
Understood. Understand your comments. In 40 years of doing this, I'd probably push back by saying it sounds like a guideline more than a regulation. I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just saying that's what I would sense. And then on the flat roof part, I get the sense it's probably more written for a building than a canopy. I don't mean to fence with you on that.
I understand
a roof's
there's
a roof, but I would guess that it would mean more of a building. But understood and appreciate your comments.
And you've got two prongs, really. One is site plan regulations, where I think the board has discretion. And then also, I would say you have discretion, but under the conditional use permits for a fast food restaurant, one of the criteria, 3, is that the board shall determine whether building design and landscaping is compatible with the mixed commercial, residential, and historic character of the area. So you'll have to, 1, make a decision under the site plan whether you're comfortable, but 2, you're going to have to make a finding specifically on that point.
Repeat that last one, the 3
Yes.
historical what?
There are 4 points that you have to meet under fast food or ticket restaurant under conditional use. The first is the access and egress points. 2, they have got a variance from that. These 200 feet of frontage, they've got that. 3 is the planning board shall determine whether building design and landscaping is compatible with mixed commercial, residential, and historic character of the area. The final one is it won't create undue traffic hazard.
Thank you.
So again, that gives you some discretion to decide.
I'm not sure if we can, I would think that would just apply to the building for the,
It does say building design.
for the, because the fast food isn't in the gas pump.
I would think so too.
So I don't know if I want to hold the entire plan to that. And then the performance standards for the Northern Commercial District that we recently had updated. Within a development project site design, this is B, all residential uses shall be compatible in character, scale, and design with existing developed properties in close proximity and abutting the proposed development. Within a development project, site design elements should be compatible with small New England village character and the town's agricultural history. Applicants must submit building elevations and landscaping plans to the planning board for review as part of their site plan application. The planning board shall determine whether building design is compatible with the mixed commercial, residential, and historic character of the area. The planning board may consult with the Conservation Commission and the Heritage Commission to assist in its determinations. So I think the question is whether we can apply these sorts of things to gas pumps or whether they only apply to buildings.
Well, I mean, in terms of the character and, you know, the rural character of the town, I guess I would have to, I'd have to look, have to research it. I'm not sure if it would apply. I think the board has discretion, especially under the conditional use, maybe, to make sure that it comports with the character and the rural character. And I think that you could probably make the argument that it should be part of the whole scheme or the concept. And I think that, you know, I think that it probably, if we were to look at it from a regulatory standpoint, I think we have the authority to basically, you know, make it a condition that it be in keeping with the character of the town, or the character of the building, in terms of the architecture and so forth. So, I think it does fall under our regulations. I do. I understand what you're saying, it being, maybe it was a, you know, sort of giving guidance, but I think the regulations, I think, speak to the discouragement of flat roof buildings, and if the conditional use permit is, you know, asking the board to, you know, look at, you know, the, what this is gonna look like in comparison to the community. I think there's an argument to be made there.
And I would agree. I do think the board has discretion to
I
address
do.
the canopies within the
think
context of
they
the
do.
design.
And I don't mean to belabor the point for the applicant, but I just think that this may be something that perhaps the applicant may want to reconsider or maybe look into. But, Mr. Hollis,
Thank
I'll
you.
let you speak.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Good evening. My name is Morgan Hollis. I'm an attorney at Gottesman and Hollis, 39 East Pearl Street in Nashua, and representing the applicant. And I have a couple of comments since we're getting close to my territory. Number one, there's a interesting new case out that was decided about conditional use permit denial in the town of Amherst. Over actually the same kind of wording, rural character. And what the court said is you don't define rural character in your ordinance, so how can you define it at your board? So be very careful about that, is the sort of the watchword of the court. Most towns are going to go back, I think, and take a good hard look at the definition of rural, what they have, what are they looking for criteria. Having said that, we knew this was a problem from the beginning, and we've been arm wrestling, if you will, with somebody who's actually going to be running the gas station. And we're pretty much at the end of the rope, and this is what we can get, and without it, you don't end up with a purveyor of gasoline supplies out there. You have to have somebody who, this day and age, is a franchise. And so we've had a lot of pushing, and this is kind of the product we're at. one thing I will say, I agree that under the conditional use permit criteria, you have a lot more discretion than I think under the regulations where the word is discourage. Discourage is not prohibition. You know, in zoning and planning, you're either permitted or prohibited. When you start getting into the discouraging world, it's kind of like, well, this is what we'd like to see, but we're not saying you can't have it. And that's where I think we are. And that's with regard to the canopies. And the third comment, under the conditional use permit, where I think you have discretion, just realize the conditional use permit is with regard to the fast food drive-through, not the gas pumps. So we think we tried to focus on the building, give as much of the rural character as, I guess, the resident of the town nearby could convey to the architect, and the architect could pick up from other things he's designed in this town. And we think we've done a good job. I think you think we've done a good job with the building itself and the drive-through and the restaurant. And here we are wrestling with the accessory pumps, which I don't know how you make a gas pump rural character, frankly. So, and I don't think that that's the intent of the ordinance. Maybe because you never had this issue before you, frankly, you know? And I think as it sits now, and as we read the ordinance, we tried to honor your particular request at the last meeting, and we pushed them, and this is what we got. So, recognizing your discretion, I think that we satisfy the conditional use permit as to the fast food, and that we've matched the rural character, and we think it fits in. If you look around to the surrounding uses, which is not really a fair look, because there's a lot of variety of uses in the area, but we think that that building does. In terms of the canopy, we can't get a roof, slope roof on that canopy. That's what we have been told. And so, hate to make it a tough decision for you all, but I'm just saying, I think that you have done your job. You've told us you're discouraging that, but we think we still meet the standards of a site plan requirement.
Correct me if I'm wrong, the Amherst case dealt with the issue because the town didn't have a definition of aesthetics. Is that my understanding? That because they didn't have a definition that the conditional use permit provided
Of rural character.
a rural character, and that was basically what they based the decision on.
It was
It was
part
the
of it.
Housing Appeals Board, correct?
That's correct. And then it went to the Supreme Court.
Right.
And the Supreme Court essentially
Affirmed
upheld
the
it.
Housing
Yeah.
Appeals Board decision. Do we, does our ordinance, we have a lot of things in our ordinances. We don't have a definition for aesthetics, do we, or rural character? Do we have a definition for that?
No.
No.
And our site plan regulations are pretty detailed in
Mhm.
terms of design standards.
Right, okay.
And normally, this would be the time I call my client, we go out in the back room, see if we can arm wrestle and get any more, but I asked them, and we're at the end. This is what we have.
All right.
Even having all the pumps match, the diesel pumps.
Yeah, that's sort of the insistence of the supplier. You know, they have to have, I guess I could put it as bluntly as possible, you have to have some brand identification, aside from the word mobile up there. And that's what they've given us. You're looking for a more color-conscious response, more like the diesel pumps.
Right, they're very much less imposing, the diesel pumps. So I just don't see why those can't be recognizable. If they're good enough for the diesel pumps, why aren't they good enough for the gas pumps, or the high-speed pumps, rather?
Can we have a minute? I can talk with one of the
Why don't you-
consultants who has a
right,
little
right,
better
why don't you
direct
have a
pipeline.
discussion?
Great,
you.
thanks.
Excellent. So I guess we'll take a recess, I guess.
Yeah, I know.
It just, I think it's just that there are other designs.
Right.
that.
You started it with your colors.
You're gonna have built snowball, have a nice build-up on that, slang it.
Got white instead of cream, but that's okay. Better than the blue.
Yes. It does look much better. They're great at it. It kind of disappears.
But they were saying that
Other than that there's someone in
the
the
stone front there
Mm-hmm.
may actually be gray instead of what
That
they're
is
showing everywhere.
Who cares? You drive
I guess the
in,
white
see
one,
mobile,
it's neutral.
see
This.
orange
Is that what
poles.
they were
See, I
doing?
thought it was a brownish
I don't
color.
either, I don't
I
associate.
think this changed. I think this was
supposed
like
to
a tan.
be
Or
Right.
Golden arches, I see.
Now it's
But either, I think it looks nice.
Some of Jay's pictures that he sent,
Is he sending right now? This one,
yeah,
that's,
that's the one
yes.
right there, with just a tiny bit of a slope thing.
That's what I was
canopy.
trying to describe. And I sent a picture similar to,
Can I see the one with the slope?
but
I put my cheaters on.
Where'd it go?
it was right up top.
A few of them.
Yeah, there it is, right there.
Okay, yeah,
Really not too bad.
no. It's like a pyramid.
They gotta
one at
have
the gas
red
station.
Poles.
That would help, I think, a little, but
They red pole with.
Yes.
What was that?
Gray.
Different color? Different color? Or different style or different color?
Both.
right, even if it's the same style and it were just not red and blue.
Just blue.
White candy cane or
Yeah, match the building.
We do keep seeing.
something. Sounded like the colors.
Choices, it's
They
always-
won't budge on the colors.
They gotta have some identity.
Please don't get any ideas now about video for every site plan that comes back before you.
Beautiful.
I was impressed.
Except for the mowing the stop sign down.
Yeah. I feel bad when I bring my boards in, I've got my laser pointer, and I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, you have your driver's license with you?
The virtual police.
Like a video game. Oh, no, did we hit the sign? Go on the bike thing at the Y. I didn't know how to turn. Had to go ask.
The drones, we see a lot of activity with drones especially projects during construction, and they'll send them up and spin around the site and get a video like that.
On the news tonight, they had Walmart drone delivering packages.
Really?
The stream comes down, it lets it go, and it tells you, don't go over to lets it go. The stream goes back up, cable. $3.99 extra, you can get for your Walmart delivery, 10 pounds.
Can it read the please deliver packages to the back porch sign?
Is there a weight limit with that?
10 pounds.
10 pounds? Yeah.
I think that rules out your detergent.
Wave of the future, UPS drones, FedEx drones,
Yeah.
Amazon drones,
Have you seen the
Walmart
FedEx
drones.
bot driving
Has it been
down,
already?
down South Willow, or, no, Elm Street in Manchester? Every once in a while, you see a FedEx bot driving down and a UNH student running after it. They're doing something, like, they're definitely testing something out. It's about the size as like a FedEx Dropbox, or like a blue mailbox Dropbox. It's about that size, and it just has like, I think it was like 6 little wheels, and it just going down the sidewalk, and the kid in UNH sweatshirt chasing after it. I've seen it a couple times now. They're testing things.
The irony is,
We can see them on the mirror.
Oh.
You can see them up there in the
I didn't realize
the new cameras.
Yeah. We're not gonna change anything.
Will be any action?
There's always action. It's never dull.
Support
Oh,
cost.
this still interesting.
Something to do.
You know, I know.
You're home watching
what
television.
station it
Yeah,
is
sign on
before I
this.
get to the
Wait for it to
phone.
round it.
Because you got this sign up.
6.
Right. BP and green,
Wonder
or
if the canopy
mobile and white and blue.
The only thing I
with
pay
a
attention
peak
to is
is a
the
cost factor.
regular.
I bet it would be more expensive, but it's mobile.
Yeah.
I think they could afford it. Update, sign on plan. And, see.
Everything else, I think they worked pretty well.
Oh, yes.
I guess at some point here, I'd probably need
I guess we need
a
to
set of
add
plans since they're making
that
changes.
to the ordinance update list, defining rural
Light poles and
character.
things like that, 'cause
I don't know if
I-
anything's
I
been
think
written
so.
yet.
And I
Do
think
I
we
have
need
mine?
to think
The set
about
I have.
site plan,
That's funny, very
being
little
more
time
specific
since
February
about
18th.
the components. It's not just
About the
building.
gas station.
Not inside.
Anyways,
They're not
Could be
flat
the
out
ugliest
say no
thing you ever
franchise
saw, it wouldn't matter.
That's kind of harder to define.
Yeah, like instead of saying discourages, just
I
say,
think we could certainly say, talk about color scheme babies, discouraging, if nothing else. Vibrant, overly vibrant, or whatever, we can come up with some good language around that.
okay.
These I got.
Because really, whether it's corporate.
Mr. Hollis,
Yes,
you
thank you.
returned.
Yeah.
If it wasn't corporate, right?
So, I learned a lot out there, and I'm gonna try to,
Well, again, I
have them
received
educate you as well. And you're gonna hear some terms like koala, candy cane, and blades. And we're gonna try to use this screen that's up, unless we have a better one, a more close-up one of the gas dispensers. Jay?
Seemed to be, let's see if I don't think I've got one, that one's, isn't as clear.
The last one would work, the one we had previously would work.
All right, I have to go back to it.
Yeah, that one.
That one work?
Yep.
Why don't you introduce yourself and?
So my name is Peter March, New Hampshire Signs, 66 Gold Ledge Avenue, Auburn, New Hampshire. So as I explained to the board last time, there are 4 elements to what is called synergy. And the purpose of synergy is to promote a traffic flow within the gas station. And it's, as I explained, it's suggestive, it's not a regulatory option. So essentially what the elements are is the candy cane or wave, okay, which is the large element on the leading edge of the
Why don't you
canopy.
go ahead right up there, Peter?
That's this element here. There's also a blade, which protrudes off the rearmost column. The idea of this is to try and get traffic to enter the gas station and to move in a particular direction. It's suggestive. It's not regulatory. Gas stations are unique in that they host a large number of short duration motor traffic. In other words, people going to gas stations drive onto the gas station, they may fill for a couple of minutes, they may get back in the car. But in this case, we hope that they go to the C-store, so they're going to be walking across the forecourt. So promoting traffic in a particular direction is a very good aim, and it's a safety aim promoted by mobile. Okay, most gas stations don't have a directional component to it, but I think you can see there's a logic to it. Do I have proof of it? No, I don't. I don't have I'm not privy to any of the mobile numbers on why they introduced this. And I'm not privy to any of the subsequent data on it, but I can tell you from a logical point of view, directing traffic in one way, coming out the other has a large common sense aspect to it. So the first aspect is the candy cane or wave, directs traffic in. The blade is this element on the back of the canopy. That directs traffic out. You have what is called a koala, which hugs the pole, and I have a little graphic for you, single graphic, which I'm happy to pass around if need be. That contains the safety information. what Mobil's aim with that is, prior to this, and if you look at any other brand station, there's stickers all over the column, you know, safety, there's a fire sticker, there's another sticker doing this, another sticker doing that. So this was a way of concentrating all the stickers and all the signs in a particular area. So this thing here is called the Thoreau. The only other element, the fourth element, is the little triangular element, which is the pump number. And the pump number is visible from the C-store, and it has to, by regulation, it has to be visible from the cashier. So those are the four elements, and that's what we're trying to achieve. We're trying to achieve this traffic flow. Now, if the board was dead set against candy canes, we could do one of two things. Initially, we would take the lettering off it. Okay, so the word mobile synergy would not be on that. So we would de-letter it. We would also de-letter the blade. So that's the first level down. I think that takes away a lot of the clutter. If needed, I mean, we could take the candy canes away, but to me, taking them away, in other words, we would take that away and you would not see that red thing from in front of the station. To me, that completely neuters the suggestive nature of the traffic movement. It doesn't do anything for traffic movement. I think what you'd see with that, if you were to do that, and you would drive onto the station in a year's time or 2 years' time, I think you'd see cars pointing in all directions. And that's what we're trying not to do. There was another comment made about the color of the dispensers, the color of the pumps. These pumps come off one of two vendors in the country, Gilbarco or Wayne. If you buy a Gilbarco pump or you buy a Wayne pump and you're a Shell station, it comes in white. If you're a Citgo station, it comes in black. If you're a Mobil station, it comes in blue. So the plastic, the actual components of the pump, the plastic parts of the pump are Mobil branded. Now, in fact, if you look at it in real life and you looked at a Mobil station, you'll see it's not quite as overwhelming as that blue. It's a deeper blue, but I doubt you've ever driven up to a Mobil station. I'm sure you filled at one. I doubt you've ever driven up to one and said, wow, that pump really is glaring. It just isn't that way.
Thank you. I don't know if there are any questions, but it was information which I think may lead us towards a path here, which is, I think you've heard, we don't know if we can get relief on anything. We think we can get relief on removal of the signage, which might declutter it. And we would be willing to go back to Mobil and discuss the candy cane.
Okay.
And I think the only way, and I'm just putting this out there, I think the only way that we have any leverage to have this discussion is if you said, it's approved condition on you getting rid of those. If we can't get rid of the candy cane, then we'll be back to you. If we can get rid of it, if that's the condition and we're able to, then we're happy. You know, a lot of this isn't us. So I think that provides an opportunity for discussion of the board. Okay. And clearly the board can do whatever it wants, table it and say, you go back and find out and come back another time. But our best bet, you know, we pushed and shoved and here we are.
Does anybody have any questions?
I do.
Yeah, go ahead.
You're saying the candy cane's for safety, for the direction of the traffic, the way it's pointed.
Right.
So every time I am asked about the planning board, I always answer, is it legal and is it safe? That's our job, right?
Mhm.
So that's where I stand as far as the pitched roof. We're asking them to take on liability if they make a roof. And now, I granted, maybe we need to look at the building, the side. I don't think we can we ask a client to put themselves into a liable situation like that? I don't think we can. That's just my
I can
opinion.
speak to the roof for 1 second as well, because we discussed it briefly out there. And it's easy for me as a lawyer to talk about liabilities, because my partner can find them anywhere. But I'm not in that business. I'm on the sort of the business side of things. But that roof is a flat roof. It's an internally draining structure. And if you put a facade, which is the question I asked, can we put a facade on, an angle facade on the flat roof? If you make it big enough to make any difference, it begins to capture the snow on the edge, and it piles up on the edge, just in terms of the balance of the structure and the shape of it. If you make it too small, you're not really accomplishing anything other than a fake facade up front to put a slope to it. The liability aspect is that water comes off and causes a freezing right at the area where you're walking. And it's a very broad area to control and manage, as opposed to the entryway, which is controllable and manageable because it's a pretty finite area where you're going in. You also can do various drainage controls or runoff controls. But when you have these flat roofs, that's where the accidents are occurring, is walking around the outside of the area. If you walk on the outside of your car and you didn't pull up close to a pump, if you've ever been under one of these overhangs, especially one that's been reduced in size like this, you probably know you're going to get a little wet on the shoulder or something. Well, that's right where the drain line runs if it's not internally controlled. And that's what my client doesn't want and Mobile doesn't want. So that's the theory, the liability theory behind the flat roof and why we don't want to pitch on it and why they won't agree to it. That gives you a little more information anyway to have your discussion, but
Okay.
I think we have at least some avenue to talk about on the candy cane. It's a point that directs you because of the wave of that, the shape of that. That is not a pole to prevent
Right.
trucks or anything. That's what those white things are for.
So it's aesthetics versus safety.
Yeah.
That's what's before
Yeah.
us here today, right?
So it's suggestive, but it's not really clear which way you're supposed to be going. And I think what would be even clearer is just a few arrows on the cement pointing people the way to go.
That's certainly the case, but they don't work in New Hampshire for some of the year where the snow on the ground. The other thing is that people's eyes tend to look towards the gas pump, not towards the ground. Again, this is a program that's been adopted in tens of thousands of mobile stations all over the world. People quite often gravitate towards a single brand for loyalty reasons, because a lot of people have loyalty cards. So people are used to seeing those. You can go up to any local mobile station, be it here or Hudson or Manchester, Hudson, wherever. Or if you happen to go to Puerto Rico, you'll see the same thing. So this is a global program, and I think it's designed to work, and I think it does work.
I think it's the swoop of it, as your eyes hit it.
I can
It
see
swoops
how
that
it
direction.
is
If it was swooping
suggestive.
the other way, you'd say, oh, it's white on the front, maybe I'll go
Yeah, it's a
around
little
the back.
subliminal. Yeah.
Very subliminal.
But whereas arrows would be very concrete and clear. And assuming you can clear the snow in the winter, they should always be visible.
Well, I mean, certainly, what does the board feel about taking the delettering on the canopy? Would you want that to remain or keep it on?
I think they were talking about the candy cane.
On the waves,
candy
yeah.
cane.
The
Yeah.
At the top of the wave.
What's the lettering on it?
It says Mobile Synergy on it.
That's it, nothing
Yeah,
else?
that's it.
Would you mind remind me what the blade was for? Is it just a sign?
The blade passes you through the other side. Again, you can take the
Okay.
lettering off it, but again, it provides a continuity between the front part of the, yeah, there you go. So, if I can approach you.
Certainly.
So there's your wave, and it has the word Mobile Synergy on the top.
Okay.
And there's your blade, and that has the word Mobile Synergy as well. So it continues
Yeah.
a theme through the canopy, essentially.
So, personally, I think we should remove the candy cane and the blade, because honestly, what's really directing you through the traffic is the fact that they want you to pull towards the building. If I'm pulling into a gas station and I have the way the pavement is designed, it makes more sense to go straight and pull left than to pull left, go around the building, and then pull back right again, like make that big S curve. So naturally, people are going to be pulling in and trying to face towards the building. But soon as their gas tank is on the wrong side, they're going to turn around, and it doesn't matter if there's a candy cane or not. They're going to point wherever there's an open dispenser that also matches where their gas tank is. So, and I mean, I'm all for designing into safety things and it's just this one, without them being willing to share those statistics, I just see it as they're just trying to push that for their branding, so that their pumps are recognizable, and they're trying to say it needs to be recognizable because it's safer that way. But I just don't believe it without them sharing that data.
There are more effective ways to point the traffic.
Right,
to
you
go
can
one
make
way.
it a one-way pump if you're really that concerned about safety.
Okay. Well, I'm curious.
So I would say we should remove the candy cane and the blade as a part
Remove
of
the candy cane and the
approval. I believe that was something that you had said was
I
an
think,
option.
I think you could remove the candy cane. I think the blade would be,
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Blades on the backside.
Yeah.
blade's
Thought
on
you
the
had said
backside. It's not very
that was
visible.
So the
included.
candy cane
Okay.
itself.
Again, I'd ask you to consider maybe taking the lettering off both the blade and the candy cane and retaining the usefulness of that as a traffic flow device. There's lots of traffic elements that are suggestive, not regulatory, in our lives, you know, and this is just one of them.
No, I fully understand that. My brother's an urban planner. I hear a lot about it from him.
We're trying hard, but I
Right?
think we know where you want to go, and you know
But-
where we want to go, so I
It's
think
just,
we
this
can
one
get
is
there.
a stretch.
I think we can get there.
Okay.
I don't think it's a stretch. I think it is a safety concern. So we have a difference of opinion. That's okay. We'll vote.
That's right. Okay. All right. So anything else on this topic, or are we good?
Good.
I think we're good.
Okay. All right. So I guess the next step would be to talk about traffic. And I think we have someone here to do that this evening.
And we have Bob Bollinger here. If you want to hear, I think we submitted the report to Jay, and Jay responded back. So Bob's here to answer questions more than make a presentation. I think you've heard everything, but Bob, if you want to pop up.
Sure.
Maybe Jay can weigh in first, and then if there are questions, Bob's available.
Okay. Jay, did you want to?
I mean, just briefly, but, you know, I did have the opportunity, initially I had some concerns, I did have the opportunity, you know, to discuss with the traffic consultant, and, you know, I mean, my concerns were satisfied, I think, for the most part, and I think as we heard earlier, this is really drive-by traffic, it's not a generator, so there really is no significant contribution to traffic on, you know, 3A, so overall, I think the impact is really very minimal. And I think as we've heard before, we have the proposed turn lane, we have the sidewalk improvements, so I'm certainly satisfied with the traffic as proposed in the traffic report.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The only other thing I might add briefly, we have received some favorable feedback from New Hampshire DOT. They have approved our traffic study. We still have not received formal sign-off on the plan that we submitted, and that was presented to the board in December. But as Mr. Petropoulos indicated earlier, those off-site improvements are still part of this package. The site wouldn't work without those improvements, and we're still committed to those. So we've gotten some good news from New Hampshire DOT. We're still waiting for, you know, formalization of those plan elements. But in addition to, I believe, satisfying comments from Mr. Mankara, we are making progress with New Hampshire DOT as well. And I think I'm certainly happy to answer any other questions that you may have this evening. Thank you for your time.
I think I just also add that I think site improvements take into consideration potential future development across the street.
Right, and I know that was in your memo. You did address the issue with the Corning Farm and the weekend versus the traffic. Does anybody have any questions for the applicant? Oh, yeah.
I just had a
Sorry.
comment. Whenever I look at a project like this, the key number that I look at is the assumption for the passerby. Like how much are they, of the traffic, are they capturing from cars that are gonna be there, whether there's a gas station or not? And they used a healthy 75-76% number, which I thought was pretty generous, which is probably reasonable. So it's not a draw. People aren't coming from Hudson to get gas at this thing or Manchester. Just on your way to Manchester, you're gonna stop and fill it up when you see you're at a quarter tank or something. So I had no issues with the traffic study.
Okay. I know there was mention too on, was it in here about the sidewalk along the frontage?
And that is being provided,
That's being provided, okay.
and then some.
Mr. Chair, just to clarify, providing sidewalk along the site frontage and also on the opposite side of Charles Bancroft, we're filling in the sidewalk gap. Basically, we're proposing sidewalk down to Albuquerque Avenue, about a third of a mile of additional sidewalk. We're hoping to fill that gap, understanding obviously the proximity to the conservation land, the fact that there may be folks that don't have those walking accommodations now. So the applicant is willing to make those proposed sidewalk improvements as well.
Did New Hampshire DOT say anything about the crosswalk and required signs or anything, or are we still waiting on that?
Great question. We have not received that. That will come when we receive overall plan comments. We don't have a good time frame on that right now, but it was a good first indication that they've signed off on kind of the nuts and bolts of the traffic study itself. And then once that occurs, well, that has occurred, then New Hampshire DOT has a two-step process. The plan review will come subsequently, and they will take, believe me, they will take a very hard look at the off-site improvements, and that includes not just the geometric improvements on Route 3A, but also the sidewalk elements as well as any crosswalk elements within the public right-of-way.
Okay, thank you.
So they approved the traffic study, but they're still, in terms of the DOT permit itself, that's still in the process of being approved. Is that?
That is correct.
And that would be a condition of approval, which you've done before.
Right.
You know, condition on all state permits.
Yeah. All right. I know there's been a lot of discussion because of the traffic that goes down 3A, and especially here where there's gonna be so much development and you're gonna have a gas station. And I know there's been discussion that, in 10 years, things are gonna change on the road. Anything that you can address to that in terms of, in terms of the traffic volume and stuff like that? I mean, just.
Certainly, absolutely, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the question. As part of the standard New Hampshire DOT process for preparation of a traffic study, we're actually required to look at a 10-year horizon, our opening year as well as 10 additional years beyond that. In so doing, we're accounting for a certain amount of growth that will occur in the area. And based on New Hampshire DOT's recent sign-off, that they've determined that we have adequately projected those volumes into the future. Additionally, I will add that our off-site improvements are based on that long-range 10-year scenario. So we believe that we have comported with all necessary requirements up to and including planning for 10 years beyond the opening of the site.
Anybody have anything else about traffic?
I don't think so. I'm just waiting to hear
Okay,
what the state thinks.
all right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Wanted to touch base on a couple of things. We also have the fire rescue made comments back, I'm going back to November 9th, 2022. We have the letter from Deputy Chief Nickel. They basically review for the convenience store, fueling stations, self-storage facility. I think a lot of these have been addressed, but they mentioned relocating the proposed hydrant at the north end, 5 feet from the convenience store to cross the pavement. Location that is 20 feet east of the transformer pad. Add additional hydrant on the service road to the self-storage units at the plans, page 4 and 5 match line. Portable fire extinguishers mounted at the opposite end of each storage unit, so the person accessing the storage unit is never more than 75 feet from an extinguisher. The leasing documentation shall limit any hazardous material storage to less than 5-gallon liquid, 3-pound solids. Fuel station with no overhead extinguishing system shall not be used as a ghost fueling station where the use of a credit card can activate the pumps to operate. Even when the station is closed, all observation cameras in the store shall monitor all fuel pumps. With emergency shutoffs at the cashier location on the outside wall of the store facing the pumps located ADA height and labeled. Street addressing shall be approved by Litchfield Fire and Rescue. I think most of these have been addressed by you folks.
Our testimony, sir, is they have been, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I just wanted to just make sure to cover them. So, Thank you. Also, too, I had the letter from December 6, 2022. I know the Conservation Commission did have some comments, and I didn't know if, they were looking to retain and increase buffer vegetation, mark non-disturb areas prior to construction, mark in the field all 50-foot non-disturb areas and limits of construction disturbances detailed on the plan prior to construction, ensure that additional trees and vegetation are not accidentally removed during construction. I know there was talk about including a trash receptacle on the path between the gas station and Morse Falls. We talked about the lighting impact. I know you've talked about minimizing the lighting impact. That's good. Anything there that we need to talk about, or I think you've addressed some of these issues as well.
Yeah, I believe, sir, we've addressed those comments, yeah.
Okay.
And again, that could be conditions of approval.
Right.
Some of them you can't put on a plan, but we have to satisfy those
Correct.
conditions.
Correct.
Yep.
But I just wanted to make sure that
Yep.
we didn't forget about it and make sure that that is included. And also to the lower, I remember the presentation before the Lower Mount Local Advisory Committee when you did the alteration of terrain permit. One of the things that they recommended was the Green Snow Pro. Certified contractors for snow and ice management of the parking area of the property. We may make that a condition of approval.
That was in the AOT permit. that came
That's in the
today.
AOT permit too, okay. All right. And there was also mention at that meeting, I remember, about, there was concern about spillage protections regarding the gas station and the gas pumps and all that stuff. I don't know if you wanna, I don't know what your, in terms of the groundwater and all that, to capture fuel spillage and separate it from the groundwater. They were asking to, what was it? The committee's concern was over whether on-site employees will have adequate training to implement rapidly contingency plans and if a larger spill occurs. They were talking about something about a shut-off valve that is manual operated in the event of a spill. Possibly an automatic one could be installed to reduce the possibility of human error. I know that was something that came up.
Yeah.
I don't know, what is the, have you addressed that issue at all, or, what are you looking to do?
We added oil water separator hoods on our catch basins to try to address that. I frankly think that comment with valving on a stormwater area is not a good idea. In terms of the training for the gas, I will leave that to the operator. We did pass those comments along, so I believe, Mr. Chairman, that we were very reasonable in accommodating the comments provided by Lower Merrimack River Advisory Council.
Okay. Plans for inspection, maintenance manual designed to further critical implementation. Put on the application. So I know there was also a maintenance manual for, I guess, for stormwater management that was included with that plan when it was presented.
Our drawings usually include an inspection and maintenance guidelines for the owner eventually, both during and after construction, and a lot of it's common sense. It's keeping an eye on the basins after big storms, it's removing trash.
Right.
Periodic grit removal, and all that's in our drawings, so.
Okay. You are requesting a waiver from off-street parking, is that correct? We do have a waiver request from the site plan regulations. I believe it's 120.14, off-street parking. Did you want to talk about that?
I think we did the first evening, Mr. Chairman. I believe, if memory serves me right, the waiver is, actually, your code requires something like 90-something parking spaces. You know, obviously, the self-storage, given the nature of the way we've set that up, doesn't really require any parking per se. And then in speaking with the operators at length, given that at any one time we could have 4 to 6 employees there, that the 32 spaces I believe we're providing were ample for this use, and that's the reason why we're proposing relief to build less parking, certainly to build 90-something parking spaces here would not make a lot of sense. And that's reflected in the notes on our drawings waiver request. Total required is 69 parking spaces, and we're providing 32. But of that 69 parking spaces, 40 are dedicated for the self-storage. They base 1 space for every 5 cubicles. So they want us to have 40 parking spaces in the self-storage area. I did not try to get cute and say, well, there's so much pavement here that we could put 40 cars in the drive aisles. You know, I think that's the real crux of the matter, was that the parking for the self-storage.
And that's gonna be by key card, correct? So you're gonna be able to go in,
Yes.
just do whatever you have to do and then come back out?
Correct.
Okay. What else? Okay, so we have the waiver request. And we have the conditional use permit itself, which, Section 803 of the Litchfield zoning ordinance requires the conditional use permit for the gasoline sales and fast food restaurant with drive-through service. So, I mean, certainly, we have these listed, so I guess, I would say, I mean, Section 803.00A1, the site is not within 500 feet of another gas sales facility. I believe that's true.
Correct.
803.00A2, the pumps are set back more than 50 feet from the right-of-way. That is also true. 803.00A3, a variance was granted for this item. We have a copy of that. That is also true. Variance was granted for 803.00A4, which we also have a copy of that as well. Section 803.00A5, proposed underground storage tank shall comply with these requirements. I believe I assume they comply with it. 80300A6, a traffic report was provided as part of the site plan application. We had presentation this evening about traffic. A variance was granted for this item. I believe that 803.001C1, 803.00C2, the property frontage exceeds 200 feet. That is true. 803.00C3, the item is currently pending planning board review. That's true. 803.00C4, a traffic report was provided as part of the site plan application, and we have the memo. So considering all of those are true to the best of your knowledge and belief.
Yes, our position is we satisfy the requirements of
For the
the
requirements for the conditional use, okay. Lou, do you have anything else that you want to add? Jay, do you have anything?
I do not.
Mr. Blackwell, I see our building inspector is here this evening. Good evening. Do you have any questions or concerns as building inspector regarding this project? Anything you want to add to submit to the board?
Is he there? I don't know if he's there.
Oh, maybe he's not there, I'm sorry. He must have stepped out. I saw someone with glasses, and I thought that was him. Okay, no, forget it. Well, he's not here.
Does
Okay,
look like him.
all right, maybe he'll show up again, I don't know. My apologies, I thought he was here.
He did.
He slipped out.
Yeah, he slipped.
Got it.
He was here.
Yeah, he was, I did see him earlier. Okay, let's see, okay, so at this time, I am gonna open it up to public comment, because this is part of the meeting. Is there any members of the public who wish to come forward, have any comments, questions for the applicant, comments for the board?
Yeah, right there.
Yes, so why don't you, sir, come forward, state your name and address for the record, and
Managed to get out of work, finally. John Latcher, 10 McElwain Drive, Litchfield, New Hampshire. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to speak tonight. I just had a couple of questions on the site plan. Where is the loading zone for like deliveries and such? Can I ask somebody?
You ask him, and if you ask
Yeah,
me,
I mean-
I'll have him.
Can I ask you?
yeah, I mean, certainly, I don't know if the applicant wants to speak to it.
Sure. We envision any loading for Dunkin' or any loading for the pizza shop or the C-store would come in behind the store during less busy hours during the day. They would enter into the site off the curb cut, go around the building. We've provided turning templates in the site plan set for that. They can park in the back lane. They may take up the bypass lane momentarily while they offload their goods, load into the back of the store, and then they can leave in a counterclockwise manner.
Okay, I deliver to these gas stations, and we deliver at all different times of the day. It could be it could be 7 o'clock in the morning, it could be noontime, it could be 4 o'clock in the afternoon. If you park out back there, you're going to be blocking some of the parking spots there. But one thing that I noticed is where that tractor trailer is parked right there over on the side there. There's a loss of sight. If he's in there getting Dunkin' Donuts, say there's, I don't know, everybody's going to know Dunkin' Donuts is there, so there's going to be a bunch of trailers coming in there. They will leave out the option for somebody that's making a delivery in those designated spots. If this gentleman that's parked, I'm talking gentleman, the tractor trailer, if he has to move up a little bit, the line of sight is restricted from somebody coming through the back of the building. He can't see through the tractor trailer. It's blocking his line of sight. And we all know how people in Litchfield like to go through stop signs. And there's a stop sign right there where people are supposed to stop at the stop sign, but they won't be able to see around with the oncoming traffic exiting with the tractor trailers in the way over there. And I would just like to hear his comments about that.
You care to comment?
You know, we like that parking spot. We think it's a good opportunity for long haulers or people who've been on the road to pull off rather than parking in the Charles Bancroft and walking across the street to get a cup of coffee. So we like that parking spot. Is the gentleman correct? Sight lines are tight? Absolutely. Those are low-speed areas. People are traveling 5-10 miles an hour when they come back throughout to get out.
I always see people coming in gas stations at a very high speed, a lot of times. So,
If I
just-
understand your point, sir,
yeah,
behind the building, there's a stop sign, so they
Yep.
should be stopped.
right,
Okay, they're gonna look left, they're gonna see that truck there in the light blue, and they're gonna say,
Yep.
I can't see that great, they're gonna inch out, and then
Yeah.
they're either gonna go or stop.
and what if
that's
there's a
that's
truck,
how I would
what if
see it.
there's a truck or a car leaving that, going straight through there to leave to leave the area? What happens then?
To leave which area? Right there under a stop condition, right there.
Right.
Yeah, and they wanna
And
make
if
a
there's
left,
a,
they're
if
gonna
there's
come around.
somebody, I'm sorry, if there's somebody coming to the left of that tractor trailer to
Yeah.
either a truck,
To go
getting
out back or
gas or
something.
whatever,
Okay.
they
so-
couldn't see the car exiting out that area. So it's a safety issue, obviously, especially when you're dealing with, God forbid, there's an accident there where flames and stuff, from a car accident or whatever. It's an issue. My second concern is the Dunkin' Donuts drive-through line. I deliver to the Irving over here in Manchester, and the drive-through line is out to the street. Okay, so say they get just as much business here. Well, I see a lot of people in Litchfield go there, so they're going to be coming here. Say the drive-through line extends past the front of the building. Will the people that are doing business inside the store, will they be cut off from going around that line? Will they have to go back around the pumps and back around the building again? Or are the people getting gas, will they be blocked off by that line from people waiting to go to Dunkin' Donuts?
Yeah, I don't really see stacking coming back, if I may, Mr. Chairman. approach. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to speak. Appreciate that.
We see stacking back along the back of the building and around. This is the entrance really into that drive-through area.
Yeah.
There's a separate bypass lane behind. There's a separate, another widened lane to get back to the employee parking. So I think we've got plenty of room back there. If the gentleman is saying that the stacking is then gonna come back in here and cause some congestion there,
No, I'm saying going straight. It's not gonna curve through the front. It's gonna actually be straight, sticking out.
sorry, Jay,
I was going to take you to the zoom in on the plan.
I can see the picture one better. I think the people at home could see the
I
other
was
one
just
better.
going to show you the lanes.
Yeah.
so are you saying that they would back into here?
I can't see it. Picture is much better, I'd be able to tell you.
I can go
What I'm
back to the
saying is
picture,
this-
but
what I'm
here's the
saying is-
bypass lane.
Yeah, what I'm saying is when they're waiting for Dunkin' Donuts, the line will actually be in a straight line,
Yeah, back this way.
right, towards the front of the store.
You just said a minute ago they wouldn't make
Uh,
this turn.
Can you get the other picture up there so I can?
Okay, but this is the drive-through lane. This is the drive-through lane right here. And this is the bypass lane.
I'm saying yeah. If that line continues out to the right side of the pumps, say it goes out to it goes that way, how will people be able to cut through there if they're at the gas pumps and they're going in a forward direction? They'll have to go all the way around, right? And the people doing business in the store will also have to go around because that lane will block them off. Is that correct, or is that possible?
I think there's plenty of stacking there. If it stacks back there, I think a lot of the pump activity and the front store activity will occur on this side of the stack. And if they need to get around the back of the building to leave, somebody will let them through. But don't forget, sir, that all this activity in here is two-way. So anybody coming to the C-store, they don't have to leave going this way. They can leave coming this way. So they don't have to drive through. If there's a stack back here, same thing. If you're getting gas, you don't have to leave this way. You can leave this way and come out.
Yeah, you could leave that way if you wanted to, sure. I'm just saying if that was blocked.
Yeah.
I have seen John at the Irving station as you were working.
Yeah,
there.
oh, thank you.
And
Yeah.
you are right. If the Dunkin' Donuts line is far back, it goes on to that Raymond Weazoric Drive.
Right,
And I have seen big trucks, I won't say who,
yes,
parked on that driveway, on the
Right.
street,
right.
blocking traffic. So it looks like there is some room over here that they can maneuver to help on this side.
And down at that gas station, they have a loading zone, which is designated for tractor trailers to park there, that are out of the way of, they don't even like you parking next to the gas pumps over there.
Looks like there's room over here to maybe do that. I don't know. It's not a showstopper, but I think it has to be addressed.
I don't know how many tractor trailers will come in there to go to Dunkin' Donuts or get gas or what, I have no idea. you know.
I've seen that line maybe 10, 15 deep,
Yeah, I have too.
so I'm not sure how that works out here.
Right,
Looks like they can go around as long as they're not blocking the road.
but one of the, like I said, one of the concerns to me is, I've seen it on TV, the plans and everything, is that, where you can't see the block, where the tractor trailers are parked there on that stop sign, where cars will be coming out. They could get hit by a truck or a car going through there, because that will block off their line of sight.
We could just move the stop bar
So-
further forward.
Yeah, there's a solution, I'm here, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And I saw a very small stop sign. I think there should be actually a big stop sign. But that's just whatever. And as far as the, I was watching some of the meeting anyway. As far as the canopy and stuff is concerned, I mean, if you look at the 7-Eleven over in Litchfield, that isn't the most dramatic canopy that I've seen in town. You know, I mean, compared to this one, I mean, this one's like night and day compared to the one on 102. I mean, I go there too. They just have regular black gas pumps. I mean, there's nothing great about them. But anyways, as far as, like I said, I've been to many gas stations in my work, and I've seen a lot of things. I've seen cars drive off with the gas pumps in their cars. I saw it last week, 2 of them, 2 occasions. And, you know, the hose gets uncoupled, gas spills. But for the most part, what I've seen through my experience, 39 years of going to these gas stations in and out, is that people drive very fast through there. People sit in their cars on their cell phones while they're pumping gas. I see it all the time. I see them, a guy, he was on his cell phone, gas pouring out of his gas tank onto the ground. Big spot, he just left. Nobody cleaned it up. No employee came out with any sand or anything to clean it up, speedy dry. It was just there, you know, just to evaporate and hopefully not get into the groundwater. And like I said, you know, my opinion is that, you know, does Litchfield really need a gas station? I mean, coming home from to Litchfield, I mean, there's a mobile station before you get on 3A, Cumberland Farms, if you go by that, 7-Eleven, if you're going up to Page Road, if you're going up to West Road, there's Circle K on the right. If you're coming from Manchester, there's a mobile on Brown Avenue. You're coming off of 3A, there's a Irving gas station in your way. If you're on Londonderry, you're going down Litchfield Road, you pass another mobile station. So you just ask yourself, do we really need another gas station in the town of Litchfield? I guess that's up to you to decide. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Is there anybody else from the members of the public that wish to comment this evening? All right. Seeing nobody else, I will close public input on this application, and I will return it to the board. Does the board have any further questions of the applicant?
I just have a quick question, because I just noticed it. When Jay was, on page 4 of the site plan set, so we've been kind of referencing this rendering that just has one drive-through lane, but the plan set still shows 2. I thought it was reduced to 1, but I just wanted to know what what was the final? It shows like a mobile,
There's actually
Mobile
two
pickup?
drive-through lanes. One's for the conventional window. The other one, Renee, is for
It's for mobile apps.
mobile apps. So I didn't really want to dive too deep in the last discussion, but there's the traditional drive-up window. And then today with mobile apps, you can call in your order and you pull up into that lane. Do they walk out with the product?
They'll stick a cut through,
Okay.
so it's like you come in.
They'll come out the side door and pick up the product there. Yeah, so
It's a speed up.
it adds greater capacity to the facility.
Yep.
I don't think we have the density population, as Manchester, some of the other bigger cities, but, having that two lanes is a great luxury. A lot of those places don't have that. The famed Irving one up in Ray Resort does not have that. They would salivate if they had this, so. Yeah, so there's two lanes and the bypass behind it, so there's
Okay.
ample room.
I think that makes sense to increase that stacking area.
Yeah.
Is that common then, that a, employee walks across that drive-through lane then?
Is that what?
That's like a common practice.
Yeah, there's no other way
haven't
really
seen
to
it that
deliver
often.
there's no other way to deliver the product than
Okay.
to walk it out, yeah.
It's a newer practice.
I just have more of a process question.
Yep.
How about, I don't know how the vote's gonna turn out, but the candy cane thing might be a separate thing, so we don't lump them all together.
That's fine.
Yeah, you're gonna do 4 motions.
separate?
So
Okay, I didn't know, 'cause sometimes we
The waiver
lump 'em all
request should be
together.
a vote, and then each of the conditional uses, and then whatever action you wish to take on the site plan itself.
I'd like to, Lloyd, did you mention about when, Mr. Latch's concern about the sight lines with that truck parking? What was your suggestion
See
was
the
it to
stop-
move up the stop
You see the
line?
stop bar right there where your pen is? We could just move the stop bar, sheet south, land south, but yeah, right there, just so that it lines up at, instead of behind the truck, at the front edge of the truck, so.
How many, if you were to move is there striping there that, like a stop bar for the truck parking? Or is it just the
Yeah, it's just a line.
stripe
yeah.
that goes parallel with the,
Just that line.
that one, okay. I just, if you had a stop bar set further back from that corner, would it reduce the amount of trucks that can fit there?
It really only parks for one truck, yeah.
It's one truck
Yeah,
parking? Okay.
I mean, do you
I'm
know, I don't know, maybe, I don't know if you know, but, are you gonna have is there gonna be one delivery a day, or is it just gonna be one truck that's gonna come in, or is there gonna be several trucks that might come in at certain times, or is that just come in when they?
I think there's smaller vehicles for food generally, but there could be a Cisco truck for Dunkin' Donuts. They have 18-wheelers that
Right.
come in. They do. I don't know how frequently.
Yeah.
It is not a,
Curious.
being a small building, 5,000 square feet, it's not a big facility.
If it's only parking for one truck, can we add striping that goes perpendicular to the curb?
A stop
So
bar
that-
here
so
for
that
the truck.
Would you like that?
I think it makes sense with the stop lines, and
We'll
I'd
do
like
it
to
then.
address the
How's that? We're
concerns
gonna
by
do
the
it.
experienced person.
We're
from the
feeling
public.
very accommodating this evening. We can do that.
I still don't understand the guy's issue with the sight line.
The truck was pulled up here.
Anything
I think
else?
that makes
This is-
more
this
sense
is
than
where the
moving
truck
that,
park, too.
that
Yeah.
stop bar. I
Now,
think
this-
the
if I
stop
may,
sign bar
what
makes
the-
sense.
what the
The
stop bar
sign is the
does-
stop bar of the truck
What the
right
stop bar does, by moving the stop bar to here, okay, it gets that line of sight that much further this way. What the gentleman was saying
here.
is,
Worried about
with a,
somebody's
with a vehicle
here,
parked
can't
here,
See around the corner?
it's tough to see, you know, this ongoing
What's
piece.
there
So
to
to
see?
move this, maybe redo the curb a little bit here,
Going in this way.
move that out, and we can still put your stop bar there, that's fine.
Okay,
Yeah, do them both.
okay.
Yeah, 'cause that's it, that's it, do not enter.
Well, so does the board, what is the, I mean, I guess the, does the board want to do the waiver request first? Is the motion for waiver, or
Worried about,
have any questions about that?
figure it out.
The waiver was for,
So the waiver is for
Parking, right?
off-street parking. And that's under 120.14 site plan regulations.
I'll make a motion to approve that waiver.
The place they could put.
Okay,
I'll second it.
all right, I have a motion
Yeah.
to approve the waiver regarding the site plan regulation, section 120.14 off-street parking. I have a motion by Kate, I have a second by Ron. Is there any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of the waiver for off-street parking, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, abstained, motion carries 5-0-0. Okay. With respect to the conditional use permit. And the criteria that were laid out in the conditional use permit. So this is under section 803 of the Litchfield zoning ordinance, which requires the conditional use for gasoline sales, fast food restaurants, drive-through service. Section 803, 00A1, the site is not within 500 feet of another gas sales facility. 803.00A2, the pumps are set back more than 50 feet from the right-of-way. 803.00A3, a variance was granted for this item. We have a copy of the variances provided by the zoning board of adjustment. 803.00A4, a variance was granted for that item. 803.00A5, proposed underground storage tanks comply with these requirements. 803.00A6, traffic report was provided as part of the site plan application. 803.00C1, a variance was granted for this item. 803.00C2, the property frontage exceeds 200 feet. 803.00C3, this item is currently before planning board review. And 803.00C4, traffic report was provided as part of the site plan application, and we'll have that this evening. Any questions on conditional use? Do we want to make a motion? Or someone want to make a motion to approve the conditional use?
I'll make a motion.
All right, I have a motion by Kim.
Second.
I have a second by Ron. Any further discussion? All right, we'll take a vote. All those in favor to approve the conditional uses as per section 803 of the Litchfield zoning ordinance for the gasoline sales and fast food restaurant with drive-through service, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, abstained, motion passes 5-0-0. Okay. All right, that brings us to, does the board wish to approve this application this evening? Conditionally approve it? And do we have, so we have, I would say, we need to make as a condition of approval Lou's letter of February, well, actually, there's two letters. There's the February 6th letter, 2023, but there's also the February 27th letter, 2023, which basically approves that he has no further comments. But the comments in the February 6th letter, as outlined, those will be part of the condition of approval. So we'll make those a condition of approval.
Do we need to do the conditional use for fast food?
We did.
You did them both together.
Oh, we did them both together.
Yeah.
My mistake, sorry.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I kind of lumped them. I guess
Okay.
I could have done them separately. I apologize.
No, I
Um,
was,
Yeah.
my vote stays the same.
Okay, all right.
So-
We have the letter from 11/9/2022 from the Litchfield Fire Rescue. There were recommendations in that letter. I'm going to make that a condition of the approval. 1 through 7 of those. I'm also going to recommend the input from the Conservation Commission as an abutter. They made some comments for consideration. I'm going to ask that those be included as a condition of approval. Let's see. And I would also, I know this is not necessarily a condition of approval, but it's just something for the applicant to keep in mind. Best practices, and I don't know if this is, this is maybe something for internal purposes, but dealing with gasoline spillages and things of that nature that may happen, because they could happen. You might want to implement some sort of best practice, management practices, just for safety purposes, liability purposes, and so forth. I would highly recommend that, or strongly recommend that to the applicant. Let's see, anything else?
New Hampshire DOT?
Oh, New Hampshire, yeah, all state permits will be a condition of approval, so stormwater, alteration of terrain, and the DOT permit. You already have approval, as we know for the traffic study, but the permits are based on condition of approval from the state. I would also, I know it was probably part of the AOT, but I'm still gonna make it a condition of approval, to use the conservation, not the conservation, the Litchfield, the Lower Merrimack River Advisory Committee mentioned, Green Snow Pro for certified contractors for snow and ice management removal. I will make that a condition of approval, for the site plan. And Jay's comments or recommendations, anything that he has added will also be part of that condition of approval. Has been added to the plan. Oh, and hours of operation are a condition of approval for the gas station and the storage facility.
I'd like to add the removal of the candy cane. as
Oh,
a
yes,
condition of approval.
and the removal of the candy cane for the canopy.
Is that a separate vote? I don't want to disagree with this based on that safety issue.
You want to make it a separate note?
Yeah.
All right, I'll put that one aside. We'll make that a separate motion.
However it
just-
lands, we'll try.
Okay. Anything else? Anybody think of? Okay. With the exception of the candy cane, which we will get to in a minute, those would be the conditions of approval for this site plan.
Okay.
If there's no further discussion from the board, I'll entertain a motion for conditional approval based on those criteria of conditional approval that I just mentioned.
Is that backwards?
What?
Can we go either way? Like,
You mean you want to take a vote specifically on the candy cane?
You want the candy cane first?
Include that?
Okay, well, we can do that, we can do it. So
I'm sorry.
essentially, I was looking at the condition of approval, I was gonna do the candy cane separate, but we can do that first, and then if you wanna go to the conditions that I just
So it would be a
mentioned.
motion is to add to the conditions.
Right.
Removal of the candy cane.
So that's the first motion.
All right, there's a negative in there, so let me, hold on.
So,
Remove the candy cane?
so I'm trying to think of the best way to do it. Probably the best way to do it is for somebody to make a motion to approve the plan conditionally, as the chair suggested. That gets seconded, and then somebody make a motion to amend that motion to remove the candy cane, and then you can vote on that amendment.
Okay.
We had an embarrassing situation on the Board of Selectmen where somebody made a motion and nobody seconded it. And, so even if you don't agree, second it so we can have a discussion, then we can,
Right.
okay.
Okay.
So you want a motion on the main motion?
So we're gonna do the main motion, which is the conditional approval, which we just spoke of, on what the conditions that I outlined. Does anybody have any questions before we do that, or concerns? If not, then we can entertain a motion to conditionally approve. That would be the original motion.
So moved.
So Ron has made a motion to conditionally approve.
Don't ask me to repeat it, though.
It's okay. This is for the Thoreau Development, proposed gas station storage units, map 22, lot 11, 522 Charles Bancroft Highway. It's a motion for conditional approval, and as I outlined, our conditions of approval, so forth. So as conditioned, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Kim. All right, discussion.
So I'd then like to make a motion to amend, to add the removal of the candy cane as a condition of approval.
Okay, so I have a motion to amend, to add the candy cane, to remove the candy cane as a condition of approval.
Okay, I'm still confused here.
I'll second that.
Wait.
So we have a motion, there was a motion made.
So we made we made a motion to, which, the first part from Ron.
Right.
Now,
That was seconded
are we
by
voting
me.
on that and then about the candy cane
No,
to
'cause
remove it?
this is a motion
is,
to amend
to
the
amend it.
motion to include removal of the candy
So
cane.
we're gonna vote on including the candy cane as.
And this is
condition.
separate than the
If
final
the
vote?
amendment passes, then we go to the original motion.
Gotcha.
Get it?
Don't wanna get offline. Okay.
Okay.
It is
So I
complex.
have, the motion is on the table to remove the candy cane. That's the motion by Kate.
So I'll second that motion.
Second that motion, discussion. Is there any discussion?
I think we beat the horse.
Okay. This is on the amendment, okay? The amendment to remove the candy cane. All those in favor of the amendment to remove the candy cane, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
One.
Abstained. Okay, motion passes 4-1-0. Now we go back to the original motion for conditional approval. As so stated, do I have, okay, we had a motion, we had a second on that. Do we have any further discussion on that? All those in favor of the original motion as amended for conditional approval, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Abstained? Motion passes 5-0-0. Okay,
Thank you very much.
and that is that.
Thank you.
I feel like we should applaud.
Good job. I deal with logic all day. I do.
Thanks, Lou.
And embedded. I don't think I've had a nest before.
This part.
7 years.
Was there, the last thing was add Jay's comments under conditions of approval. Thank you. Was anything about
you.
storage?
See you soon.
Before that, the hours of operation were included, storage units, that was included in the. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Have a good evening, thank you.
Thank you, board.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Thank you for
Thanks very much.
Take care.
All right.
Oh, my goodness. There isn't any.
Next item on the agenda this evening is committee reports. Any reports from any committees? Kim, do you have anything?
No, just next Board of Selectmen meeting is Monday, March 13th, 7 PM here, and voting day is March 14th, 7 to 7 at Campbell High School. Oh, how can I forget NRPC? I'm looking at Jay. Also, capital improvement plan is after elections, and NRPC's quarterly commissioner meeting is Wednesday, March 15th, 7 PM, 30 Temple Street in Nashua.
Okay, great. All right.
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay, you're not done. I'm
You know,
sorry.
I always do this to him. We had good news, Jay, about Route 3A Corning Road intersection.
We did. It's not,
Right.
it's not done until it's done and
Yes,
approved by the
but we're hearing
legislature,
good
but,
Did you ask them
the
for the-
Corning Road 3A intersection,
You want this one?
looks like that is moving forward to the 10-year plan, so that's great. The commission will actually vote on making that recommendation next week, so.
So if it's in the 10-year plan, do they have like a slotted year that they can say like, we're gonna look at this year, or?
Yeah,
how does
it's
that
gonna be
work,
10
really?
years out. So yes, they'll have a year for engineering and then for construction. Sometimes it's 3 years, but it'll probably be 2 years. And it's probably, we'll have to see kind of when they get there, but my guess is we will be towards the end of the process, so probably 2034.
2034, before it started?
Yeah.
Okay. I was just trying to get an idea of like, what
Which
is 10 years?
dovetails to when, the report said failure. So failure's about 10, 11 years, so we'll be right about there. The other really nice thing is that usually these projects are 20% local match, 80% federal. But they're gonna be 100% federal, no local match, because it's considered a state highway improvement, so.
See, I'll be in my 40s when that happens.
Kate's
So
kids will be
that I
driving.
thought was particularly great, that the town isn't gonna have to come up with 20% of that cost, it's great.
And is that something that can other projects jump ahead for like safety reasons or anything, or?
Not typically.
Okay.
Sometimes money is an issue and things get delayed, sometimes things get delayed, sometimes, okay.
Thanks, thanks.
Right-of-way issues can delay projects, so projects do get delayed. Every once in a while, things move up, though. They move up because projects that were ahead of them in the queue aren't ready.
Okay.
Or they move up because we get some sort of new infrastructure bill or a new CARES Act or whatever, and there's more dollars. So it can go both ways. Yeah, it usually goes more towards it gets delayed, but sometimes it can move up. So
Okay. That's good news.
it is good news. Good to see.
Thank you for
Kim
all
and
your
Jay,
help.
for putting
And
that
Matt as
together.
well.
So hopefully it'll happen.
Very good.
And Lou, you threw your
The-
advice in.
Great job.
Thank you. Okay, Conservation Commission met last week. I was not at that meeting. I had to do another Zoom meeting. Joan, you were at that meeting?
No, I was not.
Oh, you were not at that meeting? Okay. Lower Merrimack Local River Advisory Committee, I have not heard anything from them about meeting, so still waiting to hear. Capital Improvement Committee, that won't start up again until after election. And that's all I have. Oh, I did, just so you know, I did submit our annual report for the town. So that was
That looked
submitted.
good. Thank you for
Yeah,
putting that
so we
together.
I put that together and submitted that for us. And that's it. Kate, do you have anything?
No budget committee meeting until after the election, and I'll let you know then whether
Okay.
I'll continue to report on that.
And as Kim said, voting is March 14th, so get out and vote.
What kind of?
We have
Great.
approval of the February 21st, 2023 meeting minutes. Did anyone have an opportunity to go at those, have any questions or concerns?
What about the upper?
Happy? He types them up.
Yes. Thank you, Matt. Very good. I think they look pretty
They
good
look
to
good to
me.
me.
So I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from
I'll
our
second
last
that.
meeting.
Okay, I have a motion by Kim, seconded by Kate. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of the motion for approval of the February 21st, 2023 minutes, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Abstain?
Have to abstain.
Abstain, motion passes 4-0-1. Okay. Jay, do you have any other business this evening?
I do not.
Joan, do you have any other business
do
this
not.
evening? Nothing?
Did you, the minutes?
Yeah, we just approved. I'm sorry, I know you, I didn't mean to interrupt. I didn't know if you had any other
No, I don't.
comments or business. Okay, all right, thank you. All right, anybody have anything else? Okay, well,
Motion to adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? Second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, abstained, motion passes 4-0-0. Thank you for joining us this evening. Get out and vote, March 14th, and we'll see you again in April. But no, I'm sorry, no, it's
21st.
third week in March, I'm sorry. We're not there yet, so have a good night.
Impact fees, Albuquerque sidewalk.
Sorry.